Hi everybody, AP Goodman here. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's Saturday Spotlight. This week I have the marvelous Lane Bailey with us today. How are you today, Lane?
Doing great, thank you. How about you?
Doing good. So I know that I first got introduced to you right before, I believe it was right before the release of Songs from a Broken Heart. But you've released plenty since then. Am I right that you're up to 14 books by now?
Yeah, it is 14. I have trouble keeping track sometimes.
That's so great. So your genre is kind of a mixed mash. Like there's definitely some romance themes in it, but there's definitely some action adventure themes in it too. How do you kind of decide where, you're going to end up on those two spectrums?
I don't. I let my characters decide. Some of the books, most of my books are part of a series, the Dixon Prince series. Song from a Broken Heart is not in that series, but those are action-based, but most of them have a romantic element. Songs from a Broken Heart is kind of the reverse of that. It's romance-based with an action element. So a few of my books are that way.
That's so fun. Yeah, and I love how fast-paced, too. Even though the one I read was kind of the reverse, it still moves really quickly. Like you're always kind of at the edge of your seat. There's not a lot of filler. Like when you think of TV shows and there's 22 episodes, but like 5 really didn't mean anything. Your chapters aren't that way. Everything is really, really tight, and all of them are really relevant to the story.
Well, I try to be fairly tight in the editing. One of my beta readers especially keeps me on that. In my first book, Planning Vengeance, one of the things that's happening in the background is a car restoration. And the car plays into the whole series, but she was always annoyed. She's like, I feel like I just want to skip through this, but I know that if I do, I'm going to miss something, and so I do try to keep it fairly tight, even though there's things that I want to put in that I don't, which actually led to my fourth book, which is Who, What, When, Why. And that is actually deleted scenes from the first 3 books.
Oh my gosh, I love that. What gave you the idea to go in that direction? That's like all the best parts of a clip show you didn't get to see.
Yeah, or I guess you could call it the blooper reel. Either one. There were just a couple of things that I felt were important-ish. In the background. They didn't affect the main story, but they did affect the characters. And if you haven't read the Dixon Prince series, the very, very quick version is it starts with Jack Dixon and Amy Prince at 16, and their stunted romance that began well before that but didn't happen until they were 16. And actually in Who, What, When, Why, they get married. And it's not a surprise because they're married in all of the other books. But I didn't include the marriage in one of the other books because while it was fun and interesting, it wasn't totally relevant to the plot of the books. But I wanted to tell the story because I thought that they had fun with it. It was a good interlude, but I just didn't feel it was important in the 3rd book.
Well, everyone loves a wedding, so I think that was excellent that you were able to include that and give that to your readers. How many books does the Dixon Prince series have right now?
There are 7 that are mainline, and then I think there are 3 more, maybe 4 more, 3 or 4 more that aren't. They're not in the main line, and there's actually a way to tell when you're reading the books if it's in a main line because I wrote stylistically they're different. In the main line Prince Dixon Prince books, they are actually chaptered by date. So, you've got July 4th, 1981, and this, everything in that chapter happens on that date. In the other books, it's more traditional the way that they're chaptered, but in the mainline books, they're organized by date, which was just the way that I started writing them. It was actually, and that whole thing came about as an accident, but then I just couldn't stop it.
I love it. I had something similar. The first chapter I ever wrote had alliteration in the title. It was like, one word and then another word with alliteration, and now we're 3 books in, and I'm still, I don't want to say stuck in it because I like it. It's fun, but yeah, definitely didn't plan all that out. So sometimes we just stumble as writers into good things, right? Happy little accidents.
Yeah, there's times it's really challenging. And I've broken from it a few times in Unknown Color, which is the 6th book in the Dixon Prince series. I actually broke a date in half. So I have a chapter with the first part of the day, and then an interlude that is a completely different time with backstory, and then the second part of the day. And part of the reason I did that is because A, that day was really long, and B, the backstory was not relevant until the second part of the day. And then occasionally I will have a day, and then I will talk about what happened the day before or the day after, in order to fill out the chapter appropriately. But so it is kind of challenging. I had another idea, but then when I tried to actually deploy it in my first book, I discovered that it was impossible. I don't know if you've ever read the Myth series by Robert Asprin, but at the beginning of each chapter, he has a quote. Some of the quotes are fictitious, some of the quotes are real. The fictitious quotes would be, maybe attributed to someone real, like, I never knew the theater was going to be such a problem, Abe Lincoln. But I wanted to do that. I really wanted to do that so bad, and I wrote like 20 of those, and it was, this is going to kill me, and I just pulled them all out because I knew I wasn't going to be able to keep it up.
Yeah. I'm with you though. I'm a sucker for quotes. I love, even like journals and stuff will open with quotes sometime, or you'll have like popular quotes on the back of books. I love them. They're fun. I don't know that I could do them, but they're fun. They're fun to enjoy from the reader perspective, not the creator perspective.
Well, one of my works in progress, all the chapters begin with a journal entry, and that particular book is unusual for me, or it was when I started it. Now that I've done Drowning is written first-person perspective. This other book is yet to be titled, is also written first-person perspective from multiple people that are involved in it, but each one of them has a journal, and so they'll write something in the journal, and then the chapter is about that, what brought about that journal entry. And that particular one is challenging. I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day. I like it, but it is also very different from all my other books. The action is very limited. It's more about the relationships, but the bigger issue, and if you've read Song from a Broken Heart, you know that I'm kind of closed door. This one isn't. And, also, from all the rest of my books, I think that there's one F-bomb in 14 books. It might not even be that one, and there's only a handful of other curse words. This other book has more than that in the first chapter. And so, it's very different from my other books. It's one of those things I almost felt like I had to write it to get it out of my system. And I love the story, but I can't tell the story without the extra stuff. And so if I do release it, it will be under a pen name, because I don't want anybody, that's used to my other books and expects a certain type of language and a certain type of book to pick that one up. And before they're done with the first chapter, they're ready to burn everything I've written.
No, I get that. And I think that, especially with, over a dozen books out, when you do have those readers, right, that they've grown attached to your characters and your work and your style, it can be jarring to be like, oh, I know exactly what I'm getting into, even if you don't know the plot, but like you're so familiar with
Right.
that type of person. And then reading it and being like, whoa, wait, I thought we were doing something else here. So, no,
Yeah.
I think that's really respectful of you. But as an author, I also sympathize completely that sometimes you just have to get some words down on a page, whether they ultimately work for you or not. Sometimes you just have to get it out to keep yourself organized.
Yeah, and to keep your brain moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And part of that, I've actually, one of my goals this year was to publish 4 books, and I have 3 out, and I actually have 3 in progress books that are, this close to being releasable, and I will release one of them by the end of the year. One of them, which is actually the 8th Dixon Prince book and will likely be the last mainline Dixon Prince book, is the one that's closest to being done. But since the last book I released was book 7, Jack the Invisible, I didn't want to do another Dixon Prince book. I wanted to do a different book. So I'm fighting with myself about that, and kind of doing that between. I'm also partaking in NaNoWriMo, which I've done for a few years. May or may not be my last if they get themselves organized. But I don't want to release that book, but it's the one that's ready. It's been through beta readers. It's been through the most rounds of editing. It has a cover design, which is like the most challenging. Well, cover designs and titles are the 2 most challenging things I deal with. But anyway, that book is going to surprise a lot of people, but it's still in line with the other books in the series.
Yeah. I love hearing about your current works and your current projects. If people want to follow you, to find that release date by the end of the year, what do you have, like a website or social media? Where would you like to direct people?
Probably the place that is updated the most is going to be Instagram. And on Instagram, I'm Jeep on Rock. And some might say, why does an author have an Instagram ID that's Jeep on Rock? It's because I've had that Instagram handle for a very long time. And Jeep on Rock actually goes back to my AOL email address, like 3.2 million years ago, whatever it was, when AOL ruled the internet. And so anyway, Instagram at Jeep on Rock. You can also find me on Facebook. Probably the best place to look for me is either to search Lane Bailey or the Dixon Prince series, because the Dixon Prince series has a page. Also, lanebailey.info. I had to think which one. lanebailey.info is my website, and it does get updated regularly. Not regularly enough, but regularly.
I get it. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I really enjoyed getting to talk to you. It's always a special treat when I get to talk to an author that I've read their book, because I feel like even I'm getting a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look, which is always kind of exciting, right? Even as authors, we're still readers. So you get the benefits of both sides of the coin.
Yeah, and just as a little ending thing, when this drops, around the time that it drops, I plan on offering one of my books. Grafton is the name of it. I'm going to offer that one for free for Kindle. It's 4 novellas that tell the backstory of the Grafton family, which is in the Dixon Prince books. Gunny Grafton is a major portion of that. So that will be free around drop time.
That is excellent. Thank you so much for that, Lane. I'm sure we'll all, I'm sure we'll all appreciate that, and certainly me. I know that I'll be picking that one up. All right, everybody, until next week, thank you so much for stopping by today. Thank you so much for listening to our interview with Lane Bailey, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.